My first custom hydroelectronics is almost ready for testing. All I need to do is do the final assembly and take it up to the hydro pit and try it out. Let's just hope it doesn't all go up in smoke. Now before I start the final assembly, I would like to go over the evolution and the idea behind it. My first thought was to run 3 separate half-inch lines to the generator and control it with these valves here. These valves are very inexpensive, and that's why I wanted to go with that size. Now, the half-inch water lines was a total fail on the test. So we cannot run half-inch water lines and expect to get 200 watts out of my system. So I stepped it up to 3/4 inch. I haven't done those tests yet, but I will. Now this system here that I designed has an output for 1 valve. Obviously I could turn off multiple valves. And if I have to, I'll get an 1.5-inch water valve. The problem with that is the cost. So I'm trying to always keep the cost down as much as possible. I also wanted to have a digital pressure gauge to go alongside my RPM meter. And I started with this little LED display. From that I figured, why not incorporate the RPM meter and the pressure meter on the same display. So I went with this other little one here. But after looking at the little display, it was just way too small. So I decided to go with a larger one. And now with this larger display, I would also be able to add battery voltage, generator voltage, amperage, and wattage. And once I went that far, I figure, why not also add the valve control to the same unit? So this is why it's taken me so long. I started with a small project, and before I know it, it turns into a monster. And as I was finishing the project, I realized, well, with the MPPT controller, I was able to get at a fixed voltage much better wattage. So I figured I would add a PWM controller also. Now this was last minute, and hopefully it will do what I'm expecting it to do. So now let's assemble this unit. I am ready now to move on to our first prototype. From this test board to our little module that will plug in on top of our Arduino Uno, which is the brains to this hardware. Then we have our display, which I added some little spacers to be able to mount it onto our box. That's going to sit right in there. I have already installed the switches, and these are where the wires are going to be coming out of. This unit will be measuring RPMs, pressure, battery voltage, generator voltage. It also has a power supply for the Arduino, an output for our water valve. I have 3 MOSFETs that will be controlling the voltage of the generator. So hopefully that'll work. Again, this is an experimental unit. I'm not sure if I need heat sinks for this yet. On the first test that I did, I just tested it on the bench. It seemed to be doing all right. They're capable of handling about 30 amps. We'll test this unit out and see how it works. Here's the module. Is assembled, and we just gotta test it here on the bench. I initially made my RPM sensor out of this Hall FX switches, which is like a little transistor, and I installed it on this wire, and the idea was to make this piece and epoxy it in there. But this material, this has to be either stainless steel or aluminum, so it doesn't affect the Hall effect. And when I was in the middle of that, I was able to find this device already made, and it wasn't very expensive. I got it set up here on the bench for the test. I have the generator mounted here on one of the hydro housings, and I'm going to drive it with this drill to simulate the water. All right, let me turn it on and see some of the features that I have incorporated into it. This is our main screen. This is going to show us our generator status, RPMs, PSI or pressure, water pressure, battery voltage, generator voltage, amperage, and wattage. Now the configuration screens we enter by pressing the center button. This is our setup screen, which will give me the options to calibrate my pressure, the battery voltage, and the generator voltage. Next screen gives us our charge controller, where we can set our beginning charge voltage, end charge voltage, my low pressure warning, low pressure alarm, generator low voltage, and generator high voltage. Next we have my MPPT charge, which is not truly maximum power point, but it's going to give me the option to test a few things. Over here I have the voltage at where I can set the generator to run at. I can also set it by RPMs. This is a correction window and the amount of correction. And here I can select which mode I want to use. I can do the voltage, the RPM, and a fixed PWM value. I got my next screen I can cycle around, or I can move over and exit back to my main screen here. Right now it is set to start charging if it's below a certain voltage and if my pressure is high enough. So I'm going to bring up the pressure. Open up my air tank, bring my pressure up, and right there we'll see that my valve is going to open because I am within those parameters. Once it's done charging and it reaches a certain amount, it's going to shut off. Or if an error happens, like I lose pressure. My status right now is on run. So let's run my drill, and we are set for voltage, so it should hold at around 32 volts. how fast it reacts is adjustable from here with my window and my rate. I'll switch it to RPMs. My window's too large here, which is 101 RPM, so I should lower that so it will change the PWM a little quicker. So probably bring that down to maybe 50 or so. Bring that window down so it'll react quicker. This settings, the system will retain it. If I restart it, it'll remember that. So it's got a built-in EEPROM into that processor. Try it again and see what it does. So I think I had it set at 750. Yeah, 750. So that was pretty good right there. So I think it's good enough for us to take it up to the hydro pit and test it out. I got my new bulkhead splitter. This one's stainless steel. The old one is aluminum. I modified it to take the sanitary fittings. This one is machined right into it. It all cleaned up, and this time actually I'm only going to use Teflon tape, and hopefully I'll get it on the first try. Alright, so it's pretty tight on there, and we can see how nicely it's sealed. And that is after letting it sit overnight, and that's just with the thread compound. Tried the Teflon tape, that failed. Compound only, failed. Now I guess I'll have to try both and see if I'm able to get this to seal. The bulkhead splitter's in place, and finally I have no leaks. Have my drain here, so when I take it apart I'm able to easily relieve the pressure out of it in the water. Then the mechanical gauge, my electronic pressure gauge over here on the side, and the line that feeds the house. Sadly, this valve is not full port, so when it opens, it's not going to give us the full 3/4 inch. The whole system is set up. Don't make fun of my little water line here. This is just for the purpose of testing the system with this smaller valve. And at the same time, I want to see how much power we lose through this line. I'm going to turn the power to this unit on, and hopefully we have something to show you here. It's going to kick on right now. This is 124. And mine here is just about 120. I'm going to try to tweak it now. Okay, so it thinks it's charged and it's shut down. Okay, so it thinks that the battery's charged. and it's a 26. So we can change that. It's supposed to come on a 20, yeah, there it goes, a 26 it kicks on, so just kick on again. And I'm gonna change the charge voltage to a little higher. Bring it up to 30. It doesn't shut off on us for now. Oops, there it goes. And we'll exit out of there. So our voltage is at generator at 30.4, which is really low for that, 145 watts. I'm going to try to increase. So it will also cut out, if my water pressure drops too much, it will cut out and give me an alarm. Yeah, that's the best I can get at. It's 149 according to this one, and 143 according to mine here, 145. That's the picture that is doing the best. This is 57 about there. And here it's showing less. You can calibrate those to match from the settings. So we'll keep it like that for now. So 145, obviously we're losing it through this here and also through this valve. But I wanted to test the electronics and the functionality. I will be buying the 1.5 inch. I'm going to swap over to the 1.5 inch line, and then we can compare the difference between the two. On the display here we can see the RPMs. Our pressure and watts, current, and both battery and generator voltages. I can try to test the PWM to see what it does. So we'll go into this mode here, and we'll change it to voltage, and it's set to hold it at 32. Let's go RPMs. We'll go to RPM 750. Let's see what it does. Okay. Something failed. Yeah, it doesn't look good because my 12 volt regulator failed and it shorted in the past 24 volts to my Arduino. So yeah, it won't be a quick fix. Definitely can't get it running on this trip. So it will have to be for the next time. And hopefully it won't be too cold in. I put the 1.5 inch line back on here. And I'm going to compare that to what it did with that 3/4 inch. Just for haha, same voltage, 24. Obviously this unit is fried, but we have our trusty old watt meter that we've been using all along. So let me turn it on and try it out. And I left this the same way as it was on the other one. Working the air out of it. Yeah, close that. Pressure is a little on the high side. And our power is definitely a lot better. So yes, a big difference between this and the 3/4 inch line. That was expected. And let's see if we can get a little more if we tweak it. It's 248 is dancing a bit, but it's definitely a lot better. I'm almost done covering up the water line finally. It's got a few more trips to make. It's a little tricky backing up this trailer into here. And now I gotta do some manual work. And that's where I gotta fill to. I graded it out and started cleaning the ditch here, removing the larger rocks that have fallen in. I still have to dig the right side out so the trailer will be able to ride alongside that. Final load after 5 years almost. Well, 4 years. It took me a year to install this water line. I just got to remove the material from there, the protector that I put on there. And as you can see here, they took a bite into it. They're munching away. I got a little aluminum behind that. But I'm glad I did that because they just see something foreign. They want to munch on it. Major part is done. That's 3,000 feet. I just have to do something about this area here. There's a few spots where it is exposed and it's got to be done by hand.